I had been looking around in the supermarket and doing some light shopping for upward of 30 minutes. Then suddenly, I heard a voice, "Can you please show me the small tins of tomato?" I turned, startled, and it took me a few moments to realize the man before me who had spoken had a small cane in his hand, and that he was blind. His eyes were slightly blank looking, but otherwise he didn't appear blind. "Of course," I said, and handed him a tin of tomato from the nearby shelf. "Thanks. Thanks a lot," he said with a smile, placing it in his trolley with a few other items. Then he carefully steered his way down the aisle towards the checkout. Something stirred within me, and I watched with admiration as he maneuvered his trolley with ease. Then, checking the items in my basket, I realized that I had everything I'd come for and also made for the cashier. The cashier, a plump, middle-aged woman with a cheery-looking face, said admiringly, "You are a wonder, Franco. The way you maneuver yourself through this store is wonderful." I thought he was a wonder, too. I studied him as she rang up his purchases. He was really nice looking with a lean face and a wide mouth that seemed to be constantly smiling. Standing at 5 feet 10, he had a slim waist and flat tummy of an athlete in superb physical shape. Sheer masculinity made him handsome. As I continued to study him, my heart went out to him. Pity welled in me and I wondered sadly how such a handsome man could be blind. Picking up his carrier bag, he headed for the door, using his cane to find the way. A few minutes later, I was out in the street, feeling the warm sunshine of that Saturday afternoon. Ahead of me, I saw the poor blind man tapping his way along the pavement. He came to a zebra crossing, and I held my breath. Then, as a car sped by, I found myself hurrying towards him. "Can I help you across?" I asked. "Or, is it insulting or something to offer to help?" "Not to me, it isn't," he said, turning to me with a quick grin. "I'd rather not do it myself if there's someone around to help me." Tucking my hand under his arm, I guided him across the street. On the other side he said, "You're the woman who helped me in the supermarket, aren't you?" "Yes." "How did you know?" "Well, you've probably heard that a blind person develops other senses more fully to compensate for loss of sight. I recognized your voice for one thing," he explained. "And your perfume, it's nice," he added. "Gee," I said flustered, and we both laughed. On my insistence, I guided him to the place where he lived about a kilometer from the supermarket. When we reached the place and stood in front of his gate, he said, "My name is Franco, and I'm really grateful for your help." "I'm Helen. It's a pleasure to have helped you home." Then, rather shyly, he said, "You wouldn't think me pushy if I asked you to have lunch with me, would you? I don't have many opportunities to have lunch with a pretty girl." "How do you know I'm pretty?" I asked. "Oh, from your voice. It's soft and sweet," and his face flushed slightly. I smiled, and my face felt stiff. I felt flattered by his compliments. My present boyfriend Deli had not for once said such sweet things about me. "I'm sorry I can't," I replied. I felt so much like staying with him, keeping him company and watching his easily handsome profile. But I was just not in the mood. It still amazed me how the words stumbled out of my mouth from a mind that before. He said, "Of course, I shouldn't have asked you," he said rather nicely. "You probably have a lot of other things to do. But I promise, I'll be here tomorrow afternoon for lunch. That's if the invitation is still open. I shall be pleased if you come." As I hurried home, I couldn't keep my mind off that blind man. It was as if he had struck a rhythm within me and made me dance with it. How wonderful it would have been to have him in my life, if he had not been blind. Oh yes, if he had not been blind. Why didn't he? I had no serious boyfriend in my life and God knew I had seen hell in the hands of men. When I entered my room about a quarter of an hour later, I slumped and rumpled bed again brought out old unfinished memories. I threw myself against my bed as tears threatened to stain the stain of sorrow. I threw my things to a corner, and put fresh thoughts in my mind. I wondered if Deli would come that evening. He'd said he would, but he had not said when. I knew how highly unpredictable he was. I hated my relationship with him. He didn't care enough and I cared too much. I knew he was using me until he had enough, but I didn't have the guts to tell him to go to hell before he told me. How could I continue to let him use and abuse me? I'd been used and abused all my life by my parents, especially my alcoholic father who considered me a mistake in the first place. As I racked my torments, there was no money for nice clothes. I had been denied the little luxuries other girls of my age enjoyed. I compensated by pinching whatever money I could from my parents and buying makeup which I applied too generously. I shuddered as the memory of my teenage years flashed before me. The images were too vivid. How we made up, the clothes, the little time for me, and so I received no correction or admonition whatsoever from them. It was all teenage experimentation to me, but I suppose some people saw it as something else. Some saw it as perpetual invitation to have fun. One day, when I was walking home from school, 3 guys away slightly pulled up beside me in a car. I remember I was 17. Want a lift, Helen, one of them called out. My heart hammered. These boys were quite a bit older than me and always had girls chasing after them. They had lots of money to throw about and they were always cruising about in their father's big cars. I was flattered and I slinked half attentive to me before, and this was the first real offer I had. You want a lift home, they said. I hardly got out the word, yes. I was so excited. Let's go for a ride round the town first, okay, one of the lads said. I nodded dumbly. They headed for the outskirts of the town, joking and messing about, and I thought it was fun, until they pulled off the main road into a deeply wooded area and raped me one after the. Even now, years later, I still dream of that terrifying experience and woke up bathed in perspiration, terror clutching my heart. But by the time I was raped, I was a virgin, shy and withdrawn, scared and uncertain. They were even surprised that I was a virgin. They had imagined that I must have been promiscuous the way I went about with heavy makeup and rainbow-colored hair. They dropped me off later, a couple of streets from home, a shuddering, speechless blob of terror. The boys' parting remarks as they drove away was, "Don't forget, babe, with your background, nobody is going to believe anything you say." I believed them. I really thought no one would think I was telling the truth if I told them what took place. So I hugged my pain and misery to myself, becoming more withdrawn and silent. But I no longer wore makeup or dyed my hair all colors of the rainbow. As soon as I left school, I took off for another town with never a backward glance. I hunted for a job and got one in a tobacco company. When business did not boom, I got laid off. I took up a job as a receptionist at a hotel. Each job lasted for about a year. And finally, I became a clerk in a law firm. The money was not attractive, but at least I kept my body and soul together. I was lonely, but I learned a few things as the years rolled by. Obviously, there was something about me that attracted men, my heavy boobs, but the wrong kind of men. Or perhaps it was me. I was so starved of love, I was easy. I was desperate to have a man of my own, someone I could talk to intimately and share things with. I reckon I had never known any kind of love all my life, least of all parental love. So when men came my way, I was easily deceived into believing they could be the persons I had been waiting for all along. I was naive enough to think that sex meant love. There was Maxwell at the tobacco firm. He was big and good-looking in a rough sort of way, and he had a massive manhood which I loved. Our affair ended about 3 months when he met someone else, a nice girl he wanted to wed. Then there was Olu, who worked at the local broadcasting station. The opposite of Max, he was smooth, suave and elegant. But underneath it all, he wasn't the real man I wanted. So I went from Max to Olu, and it lasted for months. I dumped Olu before he dumped me. He seemed to have tired of me already and had satisfied his lust. I have not met him for many years, but I have not set my eyes on him till this day. I should have learnt a few lessons by then, but I hadn't. When Delhi came my way, I fell hard for him. He was handsome, sexy, and easygoing. When he wanted to see me, he did. When he wanted sex, he got it. He said what he wanted was love. Or maybe I believed but was not sure. We'd been going out for several months and there were still no promises, no sweet words of love, no proposal. Delhi saw me when he wanted to. I didn't know who he saw on the night I sat at home alone. That evening, he did not put up an appearance as he had promised. The following day after church service, I dashed off to Franco's place. The thought of him had occupied me throughout the night and his strange little mannerisms haunted me. But I often cautioned myself that it would be stupid to be with him. But I thought I should be patient with Delhi, with the hope that he would soon propose. Delhi stopped coming. Then, about a week later, when I met him, he was not so pleased to see me. I thought you had forgotten all about me, he said, pleased with himself. I've been pretty busy these days, I said. Later, I took him to my apartment where we had dinner together. After dinner we sat on the sofa listening to the radio and talking quietly. Suddenly, Franco shifted his position at the same time I did and our hands met. He held on and cupped my face. His lips gently found mine. For no reason I could understand, I stiffened, and my lips gave him an unyielding beneath his, even though a tender, sweet thrill ripped through me. He pulled away, and with a heart he couldn't conceal, said, I'm sorry, Helen. You didn't like that, did you? Oh, Franco. I took his hand in mine and pressed it to my cheek. I'm sorry, too. I didn't dislike it. I don't know why. It's just, my voice trailed away. It's just that you can't care for a blind man, is that it? He said sadly. No. I protested. Yet I couldn't give an explanation for my actions. I didn't understand them myself. I'm in love with you, Helen. I'd like to marry you, but I know I have no right to expect you to want that from me. I can offer you little except love, no fortune, no position, money to keep body and soul together. But isn't it love that everyone needs for happiness? I dropped his hand and jumped to my feet, unable to sit so close to him any longer. My heart was doing strange things that denied what my head was telling me. I don't know, I cried. I don't know what a person needs for happiness. Sometimes I think no one can be truly happy. His jaw tensed at my words and he stood up. His voice was flat. I'm sorry. I was such a fool. I won't inflict myself on you again. He started for the door, but he stumbled over a chair. My heart wrenched, and I wanted to run to him. But I was rooted to the spot. He walked away without another word, and I collapsed in a heap on the sofa, trying to suppress the sobs that tore through me. Everything he had said was the truth. The ugliness had happened to me. Ugly men didn't want to marry a blind man. Yet I wondered why I felt so hollow and empty inside, as if something vital had been torn out. 2 weeks passed and I did not hear from either Delhi or Franco. It was 2 weeks of torment, as my mind never for once left Franco. I couldn't sleep, tormented by the shallowness of my affair with runaway Delhi as well as thoughts of Franco. I considered sleeping pills, but knew I'd just be turning to them more often. To me that was unwise. One day, unable to bear it any longer, I ran to his apartment. He was listening to an old Barry White tune, Just the Way You Are. Oh, Franco, it's me, Helen. How are you? Surprise was boldly written on his face. I'm okay. It's nice to see you again, Helen, he said with a smile. Then there was silence as I frantically searched for the right words. There was so much to say and there was only one way to say it. Barry White appeared to be the saving grace as he provided me with the exact words that I needed. What a pleasant coincidence. The thoughts of my heart and the words of the music. I love you, Franco, just the way you are. I blurted out. Blindness or no blindness, I love you. I never had a peace of mind the past 2 weeks as the thought of you filled my soul. I don't know why I didn't want to admit to myself that I loved you. I still love you, Helen. Love doesn't die that quickly, he said softly. But maybe you were right. Being married to a blind man wouldn't be easy. I kissed the palm of his hand, my heart lifting with happiness. We can do it, Franco. I know we can. We'll have each other. He smiled and it was like sunshine after rain. We are pretty strong people. We've both had a lot of suffering in our lives. I think it's about time our luck changed. I know it can if we're together, he said. Holding his hand in his room that day, I felt a rush of hope and faith as I had never felt before. Franco believed in me, he truly loved me, and that belief and love were all I needed to begin believing in myself and all I would ever need in a whole lifetime.